Hi, I'm CL Thomas, and I wanted to start a little video vlog kind of thing. I'm going to put one out, or at least try to put one out once a week, and it's going to highlight books I'm reading, some of the witchy stuff I like, some commentary about mediumship, perhaps. I'm going to get used to doing this vlog. It's only going to be maybe 15 minutes once a week, and I haven't decided if I'm going to do those on Facebook just yet. There most definitely will be on YouTube. So I'll come up with the name of this pretty soon. I don't even have a name yet, but this is the first one. So for those who know me, I travel quite a bit for work. I'm a public relations person and I'm all over the country right now. And one of the things I like to do in my spare time, of course, is visit haunted locations. So one of the recent locations I've been to was Myrtles Plantation. And for those who are familiar with that particular plantation, I think it started in the 18th century. This is pre-Civil War. It was an old cotton plantation. And so it has a lot of history to it. And one of the legends associated with it that I wanted to really look at is Chloe. And it's because I had taken some photos and noticed a few things around the property that I think may debunk the Chloe legend for good. Um, and I'll show you the famous image that in just a minute that I'm talking about. Actually, why don't we show it right now? Okay, for those who know or who have been in the paranormal field for a long time, you know this image here. This was the famous image that brought Chloe into an existence with the paranormal world. And the story goes is that this is Chloe. This is her ghost circled here. And this is a world famous photo. This is what put the Myrtles Plantation on the map. So back when Chloe was a slave, I guess she was forced into being a mistress for Clark Woodruff. He was the owner of the plantation at the time. He had a wife named Sarah and two children, James and Cornelia. And unfortunately, the story is that Chloe was eavesdropping in on conversation, and she caught wind that she might be sold and to another plantation, which she didn't want to go to another plantation because she would have most likely ended up in the fields. And so when she got caught, they Clark had cut off her ear. That's one of the legends. And shortly after, she decided she wanted to stay on the property, and so she had to show her worth. And so what she did to do that, she baked a cake. She used oleander, which is very poisonous, and she baked it into the cake. And the idea was that she would make the children and wife just sick enough that she could bring them back to health, thus proving her value to the plantation. Well, the legend is that Sarah, James, and Cornelia all died from eating this cake. This story is not true. So I combed through records and records and records of ledgers that were kept from Clark. And let me just throw out there that historically, when you own slaves, you would have definitely put their name in the ledger as well as their age, or if anything would have happened to them, you would have had that in the ledger. And the reason being is each slave, unfortunately, was looked at as property, and they were a valuable property at that. So they would put a price on these slaves. There's no way that she would have escaped not have been in that ledger, especially if she was a house slave. She would have been registered in that ledger. There is no name anywhere in the ledgers that refer to a Chloe. So there's one thing. The other thing is that all of the death certificates for the Woodruff family had come up with yellow fever as the cause of death, not from poisoning. That most certainly would have made it in the records as well. It's just not there. I wanted to look at this in particular, this image here. One of the things I did when I was on this property was I walked all the way around it. And the property itself pushes way back into the woods. It's actually really large. And what we see most of the time is just the house. Most people are concerned with the house. So I had taken some photos, and one of the things I noticed, this is way back in the property. There's an avenue of trees, and I don't know if this was maybe part of a garden that they had. I'm not sure. And I know you can't see it in this photo, but there is a statue way at the end of this little aisle. So this was like a pathway or a road of some sort lined with these large live oak trees. And that would have been a really popular thing to have done back in the day. So one of the things I found was this statue. And I'll show you this again. This statue was all the way in the back of these trees, right in where you start to see the woods in the back line there. That's where this statue was. Now, this statue wasn't always there. I suspect that the statue was moved within the last decade. Why was it relocated? I don't know. But if you look at the stature of this statue, it almost looks like the outline of what you see here. Now, there is a walkway that goes in between these two buildings. One of them this one building was a kitchen, the other one was part of the house itself. And they've always separated the kitchen back then from the house to prevent, there was two reasons. One, to prevent the whole house from burning down in the event that the kitchen caught fire. And the second thing was having the kitchen in the house would have made the house too hot, particularly in the South. So they always separated them. That said, there was a little breezeway in between these buildings here. And I strongly suspect that that statue may have been, because there was a garden on both sides of this breezeway, I suspect that statue may have been located somewhere in this breezeway. That said, let's move on a little bit. So there's that statue. These are little lights that are all over the property. They shine just at dusk when the light starts to dim a little bit. They're everywhere, and they highlight statues all over the yard, very much like the one I just pointed out. Here's one of them in the front. So these statues are all over the gardens, and they have a little light that illuminate it at nighttime. And what they do is they cast a shadow. Unfortunately, I don't have a photo of the shadow being cast off of this, and I really wish I had. But if you look forward, here it is again. Again, this statue looks very much like the other one, the statue of Chloe in the breezeway. But yeah, if you look at this is the photo that I had taken of the one that was all the way in the back of the property. I really do think, you guys, that this is the mysterious Chloe. I think this statue was located somewhere in this breezeway. I think it may have had one of those lights shining on it. And I think that light casts this shadow. That's my thoughts. I would like to hear what you guys think. Let me know in the comments.